And it's hard. It's really hard because I have free time. What?
Abby.
I think if you go back in the recording, you see my brain like die a little bit.
We'll cut this.
We'll cut it from here. How's your week's been? How's your week been? Good?
Great.
You guys excited getting married soon?
We are.
Soonish.
3 months. Almost to the day. 1 day over 3 months. 1 day under 3 months.
Scary.
What's a plan? You got your bridal shower this weekend.
Very excited.
Very exciting.
Big weekend. Lots
Big
of sleeping in for me.
Must be nice for some. Some of us going to be working hard, going to flower markets at like 5 a.m.
Is what it is. We'll have to have a groomsman shower or something.
Someone needs to
sounds
organise
really
that,
creepy.
and that someone is me.
Yeah.
Honestly,
How's plating going?
You'd be surprised how hard it is to get 4 boys in a room.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Micah works a lot.
Yeah. Man's a
First,
machine.
suits. You literally have like nothing to plan. Suits and
Okay.
like
Well, that's already one
bucks.
thing. That's 4 things because that's 4 suits.
That's not 4 things. Fine then. I'm making
We'll have to plan
I'm
4
making
suits.
my dresses. That's 2 separate things apart from my 2 separate dresses that I'm making for myself.
Yeah.
We get it.
Whatever.
I'm just saying you have like 2 things.
In our time.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's not a race.
Ugh.
We're gonna look good on the day. It's right.
Yeah, that's what matters.
Yeah, if you have suits.
Well, I mean, we could just get those T-shirts with the
Yeah,
No,
that's-
not like
yeah,
Hamish.
yeah,
No.
like Hamish and Andy.
No.
Yeah. I think they'll look good actually. And then we just put tie clips. We just
There'll
glue
be no
tie
wedding.
clips on.
There'll be no wedding if that happens.
Okay. All right. Welcome. Oh, why do I not?
I
doing
feel
an
so
intro?
bad. I was literally on my phone.
No, we weren't actually recording.
We
We
are
only
recording.
Just started recording.
Okay.
But we haven't started yet. Today we're talking about freelancing versus full-time employment in the creative space. Tashi, you've never freelanced. You said that before off camera. But that's okay because I think you'll provide a different aspect as a sole entrepreneur, as a sole business owner, a sole trader, if you will, in Australia.
It has resemblances to freelancing, I would say.
Yeah, I don't see how it's that different, to be honest. It's just not a service, it's a product, but
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
True.
And you've done both. You're employed and you also run a business. You're actually doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
Did you ever do both at the same time?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Freelanced the second I could. Like the second I figured out freelancing was a way to make money, I freelanced.
Yeah, 100%.
But then I think when I got my first full-time job, I didn't freelance just because it was so full on, like long days, long hours, just no time to think about that sort of stuff. But yeah, I definitely did after that job, and it was good. Good to mix it up, try different things.
Yeah.
You know, you're not tied down to one project.
I'd say most people start freelancing while they're working. Like it's probably pretty rare that you just do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Quit your
should
job and just go
freelance.
hard and
Yeah.
freelance. But yeah, it's good fun. Maybe we should start like where we started.
How about
Right.
you go first? 'Cause
Okay, I'll go first. So if we go all the way back, so I started doing like media stuff in year 10 in school. Before that, I was interested in creative arts and I was a musician, played drums. So I was like pretty interested in it. And then I started helping out with my school, like chapel. They would do like intros for each of the months or the terms. We'd do like a different topic and they'd do these fun video intros with Mercy Me songs. It was great. So I started helping out our chaplain filming those. That's kind of my first foray into actually doing client work, I guess.
Yeah.
I was actually doing stuff for someone else.
Volunteering.
Before that, I do remember, and I've looked for it everywhere, but I think it's lost to somewhere. But I made a video when Ryan Higa was big. Do you remember
Yeah.
Loosely.
him
I'm not.
on YouTube? I think he still streams or something now, but he doesn't really make like sketch comedy videos anymore. But he used to have this like ninja character that he would do. I remember when I was like really young, maybe like 11 or 12, I made a video where I was like the green ninja, just like with a camera on a tripod. And It's
And
super
you
embarrassing.
can't find them anywhere.
I can't find it. I thought it was on like an old hard drive at my
Oh, that would
parents'
be
house.
so
but
funny.
yeah, I was like, it was very culturally inappropriate because I was doing an accent.
Oh, maybe it's a good thing that
It's probably good
got
that
lost.
it's been buried.
That would be your one thing to
Just
blacklist
cancel.
you in any
Just
of your
cancel me.
career.
But that was like, that was like, I obviously had a spur to want to create things.
Mm.
So then, I started doing the school stuff. And then I did like a Cert 3 in media in year 11. And then I graduated and I went to uni. I did a Bachelor of Multimedia. And then I quit that halfway through because I started working in the industry a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was working with a butcher, which doesn't sound like the industry.
What
there,
industry
yeah.
were
There,
you
yeah.
talking about?
I was working with a butcher, and I started as like over the counter, I'm not a butcher, trained obviously,
You were.
but I started as like an over the counter kind of like,
Here's your meat.
1 kilo of chicken breast kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I would get them out of the counter, I'd do the transaction and stuff. A customer service representative, and eventually, one day he was like talking about the website in the butcher shop. It was like an organic butcher, and they had 3 different shops in the Gold Coast. And he was talking about the website, and I said, I can probably help. Like, I've done a bit of WordPress stuff. So then my job transitioned in the next like 2 months from customer service rep to like IT specialist and web design and developer and media creator for this whole business, which was cool.
That's wild.
But I had basically no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of making it all up as I went. But it was good. It was a really good experience on the go. And then I moved to Sydney, and all throughout that time, basically from when I started uni to, I guess now, I've been freelancing. I don't do as many freelancing jobs as I used to. With 2 kids, it's tricky to take nights off and stuff to go and film events. And I don't love doing events, if I'm being honest. Like, it's not my foray.
This is on top of a full-time job.
Yeah, well, now I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
There was a period of time there where I didn't. I was working part-time and then freelancing to subsidize the rest of it. And then, I'm now working full-time and like just doing just tiny little bits of freelancing if they come up, like friends and family stuff almost.
Yeah.
Or like stuff that I want to do. But it's not really freelancing because I'm not getting paid for it. It's just like content creation, I guess. So
Yeah.
that's me.
That's cool. Very similar, actually. So
Both Brisbane boys.
both Brisbane boys or Queensland boys.
Oh, wait, you Brisbane.
Gold Coast.
Oh,
Gold Coast.
Sorry,
Otherwise, we
same
would have
thing.
been friends way earlier.
Sure.
But I think like obviously going through high school, uni, studied graphic design, all of that sort of stuff. During uni, I was working at a pool shop. I was a quote unquote pool boy, as Teshi likes to call me. But I worked as like an assistant in the store and then went out servicing pools and whatnot when needed. But then I transitioned into more graphic design and web design stuff for that company.
Yeah. Right.
And taking photos as well.
Yeah.
All like just on the side of, I never fully transitioned into that. I just did it as well as. But then eventually, I guess I started volunteering during my university career whilst working for this pool shop. And volunteering got me in the door to some spaces that were like basic events and some stuff with competitive video games, some LAN tournaments and stuff. One day they offered me a full-time job in Sydney, deferred my degree in uni and then moved all the way down here to pursue that. And been here ever since. That's like 8 years ago now. But yeah, like been freelancing ever since uni sort of came around and just odd jobs here and there. Full-time work took up a lot of time in the first few years of being in Sydney because working for a production company, you are working a lot.
Full on.
Yeah, and I'm very blessed with that role because I get to travel the world a fair bit. I've seen plenty of countries and cities and it's been great.
Yep.
And I've got lots of names and clients like that I've worked with.
Good portfolio.
Yeah, so I need to put that together at some point, but I'll figure that out. And then I transitioned to more of a Sony music role with video editing and animation position there. And I freelanced more during that period, which was good. That was just before COVID. And then COVID sort of came through, I was made redundant there, and then took on more freelancing work after that.
Yeah.
Before I eventually found another web design job, and that's where I met Teshi during this web design job during COVID, and then started working where I work now and back into video editing full swing, or animation full swing. Not doing as much freelance, but enjoying this, doing the podcast and trying to do more. So
Yeah.
it's hard to find the time, but I feel like we always need to do it. There's a drive to constantly want to create.
Yeah, that's true. My wife said to me the other day, I was like, I'm just frustrated. Like, work's good, like, you know, the kids are good, but I just want to create stuff. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, she's creative as well, but she's like dance and drama, so it's different. But like, I just always have this like desire to want to make something.
Yeah.
Whether it's like
that.
with my hands or, you know, it could be craft. Like I do a lot of woodwork and stuff. So it's, I just always have the desire to make stuff. And I think usually if you decide to freelance in the creative space, it's because you have this desire to like make something. Like maybe it's a business or it's a, you know, actual just content. Yeah. But maybe you just want to make money. But it's not a good way to make money. There's much easier ways to make money. Teshi.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's your story?
Yeah. How did you get into your business and everything around that as well?
Maybe explain what your business is first, because maybe people don't know.
So I have a handmade clothing business, and I do everything's like made to order essentially, and then I also do like custom creations as well. So literally whatever people want, they just send me pictures, and I'm like, yep, got it, we'll make it, done. I started.
Are you still doing that thing?
Oh, that thing.
No?
Yeah, maybe actually. I still need to. I talk to you about that.
I feel like we're talking
But no, I
in
saw
code
these.
right now.
Quick interruption. I saw these Colombias making these like Star Wars edition jackets
Oh,
that
yeah.
have like
Send them, right? Yeah, yeah.
Rebel Alliance like patches and stuff on them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
Yes, continue.
So my mum's been sewing ever since I was little, like forever. So I think that's when I started to gain an interest. So she taught me literally the second that I could physically handle that. And then, I was always interested in it. I did it in school all the way through to year 12. I literally did it like advanced because they weren't running it for my year. So I was like, I need to do textiles. And I literally did it the year before and finished it, which was a blessing because major projects during year 12 is like insane. But anyway, that's my own little rant. I was going to study, and then the degree that I chose, they actually cancelled it because I was doing a double degree of business and design. So then I was like, okay, cool, I'll just do business for now. I'll pick up design later. And then I didn't. And then I did my master's in like marketing. And during this period, it was like COVID, and I had like booked to go overseas, and I was like, I'm going to be traveling. And then they were like, jokes, no one can leave their homes. And I was like, awesome. So now I was stuck at home just sewing. And then one of my friends actually was like, oh, you should like post these. And I was like, yeah, I should. And then it went from like posting it to like me being like, oh, I should just sell these and like create a business. So it literally just like sparked from that. And then I don't know, I've just been working on it for a while. I think I'm in a rut now where I'm like working a lot, and like obviously I'm working in the city, so then by the time I get home I'm like dead. But I think working in the fashion industry, it frustrates me because I'm like, I just want to make my own stuff and I just want to do what I want to do. But I'm like, I just feel like I have no time to do that. But I'm the same, like I just want to make something right now. Like I feel like I'm always dreaming of stuff. I'm like, I literally have notes in my phone that I was actually like putting together today of like outfits and like what to make and what things I've seen around. Like literally when I do my morning walks in the city, I'm like writing notes of like, oh, this would be cool to make, or make this or do that. Yeah. But then like by the time I get home, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
It's just hard sometimes navigating full-time plus like your own side hustle, I guess.
Yeah. It is hard. And like, as much as I always feel like I want to create something, I'd get in the same moods where I'm like, I'm just exhausted.
Yeah. Like by the time I actually sit down to do it, I'm like, where do I even begin? Like
Or
I have
think
so many
about the
ideas.
steps that are like involved in it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to do it right. And
Yeah.
if I do it right, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
I'll do it
I don't
later.
want to do a crap job. So
Yeah.
I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Which
think
is disappointing. But
I think that's a big roadblock for most creatives is I want to do it right, or whether it's a perfectionist in them or just wanting to do a good job, a decent job. Because I feel like everything that I do, it needs to be like really good for me to want to present it anywhere.
yeah.
I'm trying to get out of that mindset. I'm definitely like just posting stuff more recently, just like anything. Throw some text on it, throw some clips together.
It's hard though, because like when it has your own name attached, people are like, oh, this is what you've done. And you're just like, I just want it to be like the greatest thing that they've seen. So they know that like it's mine. Like I'm taking credit for it. I'm putting my name to it. I want it to be like a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
it's that balance of doing the best you possibly can or just doing something. Because it's like if you take all that time to make something and you may not even get there, you may not get to the last hurdle and be like, it's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it in another pile, like move on to the next thing. That's just like however long you've spent on that down the drain.
We've definitely moved from, I think it used to be quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And we've moved into this quantity over quality stage of social media and creation. Because people just want content to absorb.
Yeah.
They don't really care how good it is or and like without singling anyone out, we talked about this the other day about like I guess morals and ethics are not the right word, but like this particular person was just kind of stealing somebody else's content and reposting it as their own, or like as not as their own, but as like
It was just highlights.
best bits of this other person's stuff. And he was like, you make heaps of money from it because TikTok pays you, and it takes you like an hour a day to do it. And I'm like, it's good, but I don't feel like it would actually fulfill me as a person to do that. Like, yes, I could, and maybe I can make a lot of money, but I would still feel like empty inside because I'm like, I'm not doing what I actually want to do. I'm just editing someone else's clips into a TikTok.
Yeah, I think in that guy's instance, it was very much doing it for a career or money-making business.
Yeah.
Like as an entrepreneur, he was trying to... I wouldn't call him an entrepreneur because they normally help facilitate a client to the people working on it.
It's hard to even call that a business. Like,
I mean, he's making money from it, so
I guess
what
so,
is
like,
a business, I guess? Is
that's
it
true.
freelancing?
I guess there's plenty of businesses that ethically I would not agree with that are
How they
considered
do it.
actual businesses. So
Yeah.
That's like drop shipping.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
see
exactly
plenty
right.
of that too. Yeah.
And again, it's like stuff comes up on my feed all the time of like, just buy a Shopify store that somebody else has already made for $15 and then just drop ship stuff from China.
Jump on Fiverr, get them to build it.
And I'm like, but I don't know. Yes, it might make me money, but I'm like, what kind of
What fulfillment do you
garbage
get out of
products am I just feeding into the earth for one? But also like, people actually want this? Or would I just be better not doing this and thinking about something that I can bring originally to the world that people will actually enjoy or benefit from, rather than wasting my time like managing a Shopify store to make $10,000 a month?
That's what I went through.
Sounds great.
Because I remember like drop shipping was like such a thing. I think there was like 2 years ago, certain people I knew were doing it. And I was just like, I was like either like in the peak of me like doing my business for like 1 year or something. And I was like, oh, I'm just not getting like as much return on like all the time I'm spending. And people were talking about drop shipping, and I'm like, do I just give up my whole business concept just to drop ship right now? And I was like, I had to snap myself out of it. I was just like, what I'm doing is not the same as like drop shipping.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what fulfillment would I have, like, how would that even like fulfill anything in my creative? Like, what I design the website, I'd be like, oh, cool, this is such a sick website. That's it.
Yeah. I think it's hard to like, it's not taking anything away from the business side of that, like you said. If it makes you money and you're not creative at all, but you just need to make money, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever, drop ship stuff.
100%.
Maybe you've got a difficult family situation. You
Yeah.
can't go to work full time, and that's the way you can make money. And you're okay with it, do that. That's fine.
And it can be creative, like in your photo shoots and like how you actually market it and everything, I guess.
For sure.
Can be
For
creative.
sure. It can.
Yeah.
And I've even seen like the trend of like user generated content, like UGC stuff coming up a lot of like, you can just make videos of other people's products and just post them on Instagram and they'll pay you. And like, I think there's a barrier to entry there that is like tricking people into thinking it's easier than it actually is to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it requires like, because people post and they're like, I only work 10 hours this week. And you're like, yeah, but how many hours did you work like when you first started this before you had all this momentum? And also, if you're making so much money, why are you spending the time telling us how to make money? Like, why don't you just make the money and then go on holidays or something? Like, that's what I don't get. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think I feel like these you can drink water. This isn't like illegal. I feel like so that's like sole trader almost, right?
Yeah.
Those types of business, drop shippings, all those things. I mean, it can scale into other degrees of business, but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Bringing it towards like I feel like that's not really freelancing because you're selling a product or
That's true.
right?
That's true.
Freelancing is offering a service from what I know, is offering a service to a client.
Yeah.
So bringing it towards the two, full-time and freelancing, pros and cons of one versus the other. So if you want to start freelancing, what are some pros to that in your experience?
I'd say flexibility. So like you can plan your day out usually a little bit easier than if you're working as a full-time employee because it just means you got to be, I mean, depending on like where you are in a business and how strict the business is, full-time employees usually need to be there between 9 and 5 or be, if you work from home actively online between 9 and 5 or whatever. So flexibility, not even on a day-to-day, like not even on a weekly basis or a day-to-day basis, like in terms of your hours, like starting early, finishing later. But I think on a yearly basis, if you have a family that you want to go on holidays with, it's easy to be like, I'm not taking any shoots this month and we're going on holidays, or you know what I mean? Yeah. That flexibility over the long span is, I think, a pro. I think the con to that is I think there's like these memes of like people start a business to work less and then they end up working like all the time, basically all the time, which is true. You never really switch off when you're like freelancing in some way or another. Yeah. You're always thinking about, this client or that client or, the project that you're currently working on,
or
that
the
you're
next
not
one
currently editing, but you're still thinking about it. Like, I think even in a creative role, which I have at the moment, I still go home at 5 and can kind of check out a little bit. And like, I still do think about stuff, but I don't feel the pressure of like, I could be working now because this is my business. Like I have, and maybe there's just a boundaries thing, like in your own life, just sorting this out so you don't feel like that all the time. But yeah, it's definitely like a pro is the flexibility, but a con to that is how much you have to work to make it successful.
Yeah, because like you were saying, I think it's that initial push is where the grind happens, and then some people can get caught up in that and stay in that for a long time. Others try to get to the point where they set it up, they grind it out for X amount of time, and then it's, okay, I can contract in such and such to handle this project, and I can go on holidays.
Yeah.
Which is a great scenario, but then you're almost at the point of make your own business. That is like an agency or studio or something.
That's right. I think you have to decide at the beginning what your eventual goal is. Like I think I've heard business owners say in the past that if you are going to start a business, figure out your exit plan at the start. And like exit plan's a very business term. It's like, are you going to sell out in the next 5 years? Are you going to like make enough profits that someone will buy you and then you can sell out, blah, blah, blah. That's your exit plan. But that's a very businessy way of thinking of it. But if you start freelancing, figure out if you're happy for it to just be a side thing and then you're going to keep working and just keep freelancing on the side. Or figure out if you want to turn it into a business, because it will change the way you treat it on a day-to-day basis, I think. Like if you know like, I want to start an agency, then start freelancing because it's a easy small step in the door of doing that work, but then figure out how to scale beyond yourself because agencies need more than one person. Right? Yeah. So that's my pro tip for anyone that's thinking about freelancing or has just started freelancing. Think about where you want to be in the next 5-10 years. And if it's still freelancing and then working a full-time job, great.
Yeah, I think it's definitely tough. And I almost sort of on top of the freelancing, I think freelancing before a full-time job can be difficult because you need a bit of experience to get some work.
Yeah.
And you can do your personal projects and whatnot, but sometimes it helps to have had a bit of mentorship through a job or like working for an agency, studio, something like that.
Yeah.
And most people, try and freelance right away. And I sort of did. But I would almost recommend like getting the door, whether it's like intern and start, just getting some knowledge, experience. Because then you've set yourself up for a bit of a win when you go into that first client job or that freelance job with a client. And you have this knowledge and this experience to back yourself a bit more.
Yeah, 100%.
Instead of jumping on Google being like, how do I do this?
Yeah, I mean, you can learn so much from like free courses online, just YouTube videos and stuff about how to actually do these creative tasks. But experience, there's nothing, like there's some things you'll never get for unless you get the experience of doing it. And I'm probably in a similar boat. And maybe you can talk to this because you've done like, you currently run a fashion label, but you are also working in a high-end fashion brand. So, like, I'd like to know what experience or what things you've learned from working where you work now that you would then apply to Teshi. Like, do you know what I mean? But I think for me, when I started freelancing, I didn't have much experience. Like, and it shows now that if I went back, I've been working in different creative roles for the last couple of years, but this role for like a year and a bit. If I went back to freelance now, which I'm not planning on doing like full time, but if I decided to do it, I would do things very differently just based on experience. Like business experience, yes, of being in a business, but also like even like creative things I would do differently or organizational things I do differently. So,
yeah, for sure. Same. Yeah. How about you? What's something you would take into your business?
I think there's a lot that I've actually picked up. I think, but it's also stuff that I've also learnt throughout doing it. I think I've been on the journey of like refinement as well when it's come to my business. Because I think originally I was like, I need to do all of these things. I need to do them now. Yeah. Whereas I definitely went on that period that I was just like, which is kind of how it came to a cease at the moment because I was just like, I just want to do stuff perfectly, which I know like sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. But I'm like, it's my name. Like I don't want to, I'm not really happy at that moment releasing stuff just because like, oh my gosh, it's summer. I need to have a summer collection. It's winter. I need to have this. It's like, I'm at that period now that I'm just like, if I'm not happy with something, I'm not going to release it. Yeah. And like, I think like, I really just want to take a step back and like rein in everything to be like, if it's, because before I would do like 10 plus pieces, different colors, like all these adaptions. I'd be like, I'd customize it, like send me through whatever, I'll do it. Send me through your measurements, I'll do custom measurements. Like I would just do like 20 million things. And now I'm taking a step back and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is why I would be dead when I'd be like, I want to do a photo shoot. And then I look at the timeline and I'm just like, I have to launch here. So I need to have all of this stuff done in like however many weeks. And I'm just like,
make all the stuff before the photo shoot, do the photo shoot, then get all the materials ready to the launch.
And then launch it. And I would like wreck myself every time. I'd be like, I'm fine. But deep down I was like, I can't do this. Like I can't sustain off this. And I think, it's definitely like refining it and like doing a few pieces, because inevitably like my business isn't about like here's a million products. Like my business is about like sustainability in my fashion. And like I want to look back on pieces and be like, yes, I would still wear that in 10 years time. Yeah. And like it will last in 10 years time as well, which I know like I always use quality stuff and like I do take time when I sew things. But I think it's just like the techniques I've also seen at my new job. I literally like, I stare at pieces when they come in, like before we put them out on the floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And I'm like, I could do this. Like, it's just like doing a few extra steps, but like your product would just be like that much better.
Yeah.
So I think it's just stuff like that that I've picked up. And like, I still think there's stuff that I pick up in my own job, like my business that I work in now.
Yeah, sure.
That it's like there could be moments of refinement, and I'm just like, I could pick that up on myself. I don't know. It's just there's a lot.
Does the place where you work now, is it the same model as your business? Like, is it handmade stuff? Is it? Or
They
is
get it manufactured.
It's obviously high quality, like
Yeah.
really high quality though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying, you don't really have too much time to maybe refine things in the moment, in the lead up to a photo shoot, say. And I think there's similarities to how other creatives work, especially in like freelancing and full-time work, where like I can smash out a project and then look back at it in say 2-3 weeks and be like, oh, I really should have just done this small tweak and it would have been all the much better.
Yeah.
I think in your case, you're trying to plan towards that photo shoot and you may not have given yourself enough time to either do it for yourself first, make it for yourself and whatnot. And then it's just because it's just these crazy timelines that we're working with, right?
I think that's my problem though. I make stuff for myself and I'm like, this could be a part of my collection.
Yeah.
That's how it gets so crazy because I'm just like.
But you almost need time for it to like breathe on you, like wear that for
maybe
3
if
months.
you make that becomes the collection for the following years.
Yeah.
Summer or whatever. Like,
It's so hard though because like I think, I take time when I do stuff for my photo shoots. Like even when I launch stuff, I like have been working on it for a few weeks as well or months. Like there's been stuff that I would have a part of it that I'd be like, I've had this for like 2 or 3 months and I've been staring at it. And I just don't like look at things and leave it. I like stare at things for so long. And then like by the time I launch it, I'm like, okay, cool. On to the next. But then like obviously everything's made to order. So then I have to go back and like
so you're
actually
not
sew
thinking
them.
about the next collection, you're just making all the clothes for the current one. Yeah.
So I think in my brain, I'm like always stuck in the past when it's not even the past. It's like everyone's like present is like they're absorbing it now. Whereas I've been absorbing it for like a long lead up time before they've actually seen it.
I feel like that's false pressure though. Like there's no reason like that you have to have, especially at the moment, like if for a, for Gucci and Prada, people expect things to come out seasonally or like, they expect new things because they're a business.
Yeah.
But with where you're at the moment, I think you're fine to just do things as you can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
think,
there's no reason you have to release a collection every season.
Yeah. No, it's definitely been
Every
something that
year.
I'm just like,
Like just do one incredible drop a year.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you can focus the next 6 months on fulfilling those orders.
Yeah.
And then the next 6 months planning the next one.
Yeah.
And then, it's like just working
Yeah.
cycles.
Because you can also, in that same logic or in that same instance, you can sort of test those things over that first 6 months, or not the first 6 months, but the first couple of months or whatever. And then you can also, once you get to the photo shoot period of your timeline, do the craziest photo shoots.
I do.
Make it stand out visually.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Yeah.
doing something you haven't done before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got to imagine like you're aiming for the same quality as like these high end fashion brands, but you're also one person, and they have like hundreds of designers and like you know what I mean like
thousands of people
so
working on
it.
It's
not just Gucci. They're like drawing in his sketchbook and then releasing a collection every season.
Yeah.
So
that's very fair.
no, that's good. Back to the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Do you have any pros and or cons or pros of full-time work?
I think big one is stability. I think people, especially nowadays with the way stuff is constantly going up in price, all of those different factors, cost of living.
Yeah.
Having a stable income is quite comfortable. And I feel like a lot of people look for that even if they don't love the work that they're doing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
They would much rather have that stable income and be comfortable in like their finances and just sit in a job that they're not loving than stepping out of that comfort zone, maybe not making as much for a little bit and sort of having to live vicariously a little bit with their finances, chasing after a dream or a passion of theirs, right? So yeah, I'd say stability is great, the constant income, and then also like benefits with leave, annual leave, sick days. You can get paid when you're sick, which is a huge thing. If you get knocked,
when you're freelance.
no, if you get knocked out for a week with say COVID, as a freelancer, you're gonna have to write a very tough email to the client to extend a deadline.
Yeah, or edit.
Yeah, or
edit while you're dying.
Yeah.
I think I'm dying.
Funny story. My current job,
Not contagious.
the last Christmas, 2022, we got COVID like right before Christmas, right? And I had to work from home the last week, and I was okay enough to work. And I was like just firing away trying to get this work done in time for where I work now, and they was like super like thankful for me to putting in the time. And I can't imagine what that would have been like if I was at a worser level of feeling the effects of COVID. It would have been crazy. You, I think, took a lot more.
Yeah, okay.
No, like it hit you a bit more, and I was like, okay, I'm actually.
You're a bit weak.
I was dying. I was literally in bed, passed out for like days. And Mike would be like, I worked. And I was like,
yeah.
Good for you.
My brain can't even, what is today?
No, but I mean, you had the option to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're freelancing, you might not have the option.
Yeah.
Like, it might be
Deadlines have to be met.
Yeah, and there is flexibilities with deadlines in these in-house roles anyway, because I'm an in-house creative versus working in an agency for external clients. We have our own clients that are project managers within the business, but it's a little different. We're allowed to push and flex things.
Okay.
But when push comes to shove, like you have to meet deadlines and get stuff done.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the other benefits that come along with it, like some businesses do professional development, well-being allowances, parking, like all these different factors. And if you can work from home as well, a lot of people are looking for that in a job these days.
Yeah, a lot more businesses are open to working with you. If if you're a good employee, they're happy for you to work from home parts of the time. Yeah. And there was a big obviously everyone worked from home during COVID, and then there was a big everyone's coming back in the office. Like, you do not get a choice. You're going to be in here 5 days a week, like freaking every single minute of the day. And then they're kind of like, oh no, that actually doesn't make sense. Like, people are spending an hour and a half commuting for no freaking reason when their job's just on the computer anyway. So there's some jobs you have to be present, but not all of them.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you work in a retail store, so you sort of have to be
there. Come over here.
I'll sell you this.
I guess a con, and it's arguably not a con, but I guess you're not necessarily going to work on all the projects that you want to work on. You have to work on what you're given.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you want to be, I don't know, exploring some form of photography, you may not get that if you're working in graphic design or whatever it is. So there are pros and cons to both.
Locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's definitely parts of freelancing, which I guess is a pro opposite to that con of being given your jobs, is that if you have new techniques that you want to try, or if you have, things that you've seen that you're like, that would be cool to implement, I want to try that, you can almost lead the client into going, this might be cool. You know what I mean? If it's something that obviously you want to benefit the client and their project, but if it's something that will, and it's a cool thing that you can try, it's kind of up to you to be able to make that decision to push them towards that way. Otherwise, if you're working for someone, you just go, this is the brief.
Yeah, I've answered it. What do you think?
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think... I think people these days get our culture, maybe younger people especially, think that working a job is terrible, like horrible, and everyone should be a solopreneur and like, you know, running a business in some way. I think you have to think that like the higher you get up in a business, usually, the more responsibility you tend to have anyway. But there's some things that you don't have to think about. Like my role is like relatively senior in my agency, and I do a lot of different things. Like I'm creative manager, but I do quite a few different things and have a bit of responsibility. But I still don't have to think about taxes, super, our pay. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to think about any of that crap. And I don't want to.
Yeah.
And when I was freelancing, I think my first year of freelancing, I got to like tax time and I was like, cool.
What do I do?
I didn't realize I had to save tax. Like I didn't realize I had to.
10%.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had to put that away. So, so that comes out of all the savings that I had to put away for the gear and everything, or food.
Yeah.
But that's stuff that you just don't think about. Like,
Pro
and you
tip:
don't have to.
allow for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Budget that in.
Yeah.
This is
You
very.
should be including that when you charge.
Yeah, in your products or services.
A, step 1, know that you have to pay tax. Step 2, charge for it. But like you don't have to pay GST. You don't have to charge for GST unless you're a registered GST business making so much money, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But you do have to pay personal income tax. So account for that in when you're charging
Just
in your rates.
Charge. Right.
Yeah.
Charge for it and save
And
that somewhere.
super, like this other thing that I never even thought about is like pro of working in a business, they have to pay your super. Like it's, well, I mean, maybe not in the rest of the world. I don't think.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm not sure.
But like in Australia, it's mandated now. Like companies have to pay super. When you're freelancing, there is no mandated super allowance. So they don't get to tax time and say, give us all your super. We've got to put that away for you.
Yeah.
They just go, frick you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like-
You have to account for that like tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So factor that in, factor super, factor tax, factor not just your time, but also the depreciation of your assets that you're using. So like if your camera breaks next week, you should be charging for the last year to be able to buy another camera.
Yeah.
Like depreciating on top of all your. So work backwards, figure out how much you need to earn a year. And this is how they like there's a book called The Lean Startup, and it's more about business. But even from a freelancing perspective, look at what you need to make minimum, like to survive. Your bare minimum for food and water and utilities and whatever, healthcare, whatever you need to survive, and then work backwards from that on a yearly basis. So figure out that total, and then go, okay, divide that by 12, divide that by 52, whatever. That's how much you need to make a week, and then that's how you adjust. Don't just charge if your quality's not there.
Yeah.
But like, that's what you eventually need to get to be able to survive on that wage.
Yeah, for sure. And I think
It's a
this
good
is
way
just
to work.
a side tip, along with like, I guess we're just giving advice for freelancers right now.
Yeah, that's what
Write a book.
Yeah,
that's what it says here.
yeah.
Advice for freelancers.
Like when you're charging as a videographer, photographer, just let's say you charge a day rate. And if you're going to charge a half day rate, that doesn't mean half the cost, because
No,
I was listening to another podcast.
like 70% of the cost of your day rate.
Yeah. And I was listening to another podcast, 505 podcast, shout out.
Yeah,
Um,
shut up.
And they were just talking about like,
Shout out.
Thank you, Teshi.
they were just talking about, like obviously if you're traveling to that location to and from, that could be a couple of hours. You get there, you may have to set up, you may have to bump out. You may only shoot for like 2 hours, and that's your half day.
Yeah.
Plus editing if you're editing or transferring footage, if you need to buy a hard drive to fit the footage. I'm just using footage as an example, but like all of these factors are still present for a half day's worth of work.
Yeah, that's right.
When it's sort of like you're editing from your bedroom, maybe it's a little different, but in the same instance, you shouldn't charge an exact half, because you need to compensate a little bit more. You're almost encouraging them to pay you for the full day, and by having those prices closer together. But you just want to cover yourself.
Yeah.
So
It's called a pricing ladder. Like product companies do it all the time. Apple's like notorious for it, but everyone does it. It's like if you're going to buy the base model iPad Pro, you're like, okay, it's $900 or something. I don't know these prices.
Yeah.
But then the next one up is like, okay, then that's 128 gigs. And then the next one up is like 256 gigs. It's only like $50 more. You're like, well, $50 more, I might as well.
what's $50 to
And
900?
then you go, oh, well, it's only $100 more for the 512 one. So, okay. And then you're like, well, the 12-inch one's only like $100 more than that. So I might as well just get that. And then you haven't even realized, but you spent like $500 more than you actually wanted to spend.
Yeah.
They've got pricing ladders. So you think about the same thing when you're like, obviously don't like scam people into spending more money. That's I think that's the biggest point we're trying to convey here. If you're freelancing, don't scam people into spending more money. Like price what you think you're worth, but also you're worth more than you probably think you are worth, which is a trap that freelancers fall into all the time, is that they think they're worth like $80 a minute. I mean, no, that's way too much.
That's very high.
They're worth like $80 a day or something, like you know, like something ridiculous.
Yeah, $150 for a day's worth of editing.
Yeah, like you know,
ridiculous.
I'll bring my
Whoa.
$3,000 camera and my $3,000 lens, and I'll charge you $100 for this video. You're like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why would
2
you
days
charge
worth of
so
editing,
little?
3 rounds of feedback.
Yeah, like,
Not worth it.
Ugh.
and price that stuff. And then the other, while we're on the advice train, choo choo,
All aboard?
all aboard the advice train.
Your little train.
Yeah.
Get a contract.
Yes.
And there's plenty of places online. Look it up. Things to include in the videography contract. Things to include in photography contract. Get a contract and get your client to look at it. Maybe they don't have to sign it, but as long as they've seen it before you start the project, there's always something that you can go back and say, hey, actually, that was in the contract. You know what I mean? Like if they go, oh, yeah, we don't like, you know, we want another round of a vision, even though you've included 3 and now they want 4. They're like, no worries, that's fine. It's an extra $150 as per the contract. You know what I mean? But if there is no contract,
There's nothing to base.
there's nothing to say that from.
Yeah.
Like you can say it, that's $150, but they'll be like, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So get a contract, write a contract. You don't even have to write it yourself. Just copy and paste one from online. A contract doesn't have to be legally binding. I mean, most of them are. Like it doesn't have to be written by a lawyer.
Yes.
Like it's just a document that says this is our agreement
Yeah.
between 2 people.
Yeah.
So get a contract.
Yeah, for sure. And something else which I haven't done too much of, but I know photographers would probably do this and maybe some videographers, but licensing contracts as well
licensing. Yeah.
for extended use or like the marketing collateral that will come from what you've shot or made or whatnot.
Yeah.
Figuring out what sort of payment will be required for them to use your footage or your photos, say on a billboard in Times Square.
Yeah.
You don't want to charge $800 just to take a photo on a day, edit it.
Yeah.
Like, sweet, here's one photo for $800, and then you find out it's the key visual for their whole marketing campaign across America.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to
That'd
realize
be
that
sick.
for $800.
Yeah, it's good in the business. It's good for the business.
Yeah.
I mean, and the hard thing is people go, oh, that's great exposure. Like, no, it isn't, because no one knew who took that photo.
Yeah.
No one
they
will
don't
ever
credit
know
it.
who took that photo. Like, it's not good exposure. Get paid for your work. Like, honestly, I'm a bit too passionate about this, maybe.
I feel like you're to punch someone. I'm sitting
just
too
like-
close.
No, and it's just like, this is pain from when I was freelancing, is that I did this whole thing and like went through this whole process of like, oh, you know, I'm just starting out, so I'll only charge this much. And I'm not saying if you're just starting out, just start charging $1,500 a day straight off the bat with your Nikon D50. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying, like, as you progress and your skill gets higher, so should your rate. And like, make sure it's to the value of your work, not just your time.
Yeah, and don't fear
Capiche?
the client saying, let's say you've got a client that you've got a relationship with and you come back to them. They've come to you for a new project and you just say, oh, yep, cool. My rates have increased. It's now $200 an hour instead of $100 an hour, whatever it is. And then if they come back and say, no, we're not going to pay that, that's fine. Just be like, that's all right.
No worries.
I'm sure you'll be able to find someone else. It's not like just because your value is increased, they shouldn't still value it. Like they should not value you lower than that. If they are, then they're probably not. They're not the clients for you.
That's right. That's right. And it's not worth groveling.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Be like, oh, come back. I'll do it for.
you can't afford that? That's all right. I'll do it for $75 an hour. Like, no, just go, okay, sorry.
Bye.
And it's hard. It's really hard because I have free time what?
Abby.
I think if you go back in the recording, you see my brain like die a little bit. I okay.
And
Sorry.
cut.
Sorry, listeners. I have
I have free time.
free time. Okay?
This whole podcast has been about
school
not
camp.
having that.
I have free time. I have full-time freelance before, and it is hard to say no to a client or to accept the client saying no when you know that that's the only source of income that you have. You know what I mean, if you are working full-time and it's like a side project thing, and you're like, oh, my rates have increased a bit, and they're like, oh, sorry, we can't afford you. You're like, whatever. I still get paid.
Yeah, I'm getting paid,
every day I go
elsewhere.
to work. I don't care. Whatever. That's fine. But when it's like your only source of income and a client says no, it's really easy to fall in the trap of going,
Oh,
I
it's
could probably
fine.
lower it for this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But you set a precedent with that client then, and then they're
Yeah.
like,
They'll
he's
keep
just-
doing
He'll
it.
just cave if we just ask him
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So,
And that's another thing, discounts. Like,
yeah.
I know I definitely did this, and I think a lot of people do this, is first-time clients, I'll give you a discount just to secure a client.
Smart.
You're just like putting yourself at a very low,
Yeah.
low
Unless you
base.
Like,
make that
no.
unless you make that
Yeah.
really clear though. I think like if you do it internally and don't tell them that it's a discount,
Yeah.
then you're shooting yourself in the foot. But if you say, hey, usually I would charge
Yeah.
$3,500 for a project like this. Oh, you blinked. I don't think you're charging enough.
Yeah.
Usually I would charge X amount of dollars for this,
Mm.
but because it's our first time working together, I'd love to give you a discount. Or I'd love to do it for X this time.
Yeah.
In bold, this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As per the contract, this is not my normal rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
And the other thing too, on the advice train, is don't be afraid to ask what their budget is.
Yeah.
I used to like, when I was working, I used to be like, oh, if I ask what the budget is, they'll be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But like, why? They obviously have a budget.
Yeah.
Every company, like especially if it's a company, if it's a person coming to you, maybe they don't have a budget, but they probably have something in
They
mind
have
that they want
some.
to spend.
Yeah.
If it's a company, they have a budget. They've been like,
Yeah.
this
This is
project
how
should
much.
cost this
Yes.
much
Yeah.
money. So just ask, hey, what's your budget?
Yeah.
If it fits within your scope of how much you think it was going to charge, great. If yours is a little bit higher, still pitch it. Say, hey, I know your budget's this,
Yeah.
but I think it's actually going to require a little bit more work than you're expecting.
Mm.
It's actually going to be $3,500. I know you said your budget was $3,000.
Yeah.
And then see what they say. They go, oh, sorry, too much. That's also not the end of the conversation.
Mm.
If someone says, nah, sorry, it's a bit too high, that's not the end of the conversation.
Mm.
And if you really want to work with the client, because maybe it is a great opportunity, going back on other advice I just said previously, you can fold a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
You
think
can
it-
also not offer stuff.
You can say, yeah, that's right. We reduce the scope of the project.
yeah. What are the three? Okay, we can't do all of these things. We can't do these 5 things, but we can do 3 of these 5 things for that cost. What
Yeah.
are the 3 main points you want to land with this?
I've done that in my custom stuff.
Oh,
I
really?
ask them what their budget is, and then if their budget is lower, I'm like, okay, cool, I can do it. Either the fabrics will be cheaper because that's obviously like going to be compromised,
Sure.
or like I won't offer everything that I would have done.
I won't sew it up. I just give you the
I'll
pieces.
just give you the material and you can DIY sew
You
it
can do
yourself. No, but I've done
DIY
that.
kit,
I
yeah.
like always. I think I've learnt from that though. It's like always asking people. But that's come from being burnt in the past.
Yeah.
With people being like, "Oh, I don't want to charge you." There was one client I had, and they were essentially like, "I'm paying for this, but not that," and that was my labor, and I was like, "Well, you're literally just paying for the material right now."
Yeah.
So like, I
So
think
that doesn't work.
yeah, I've been burnt to be like, okay, well, I need to be like clear budget, clear quote beforehand so that they know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just doing work and they're like, I don't want to pay that. And you're like, oh, sick. I've just
Yeah.
made that
Yeah.
for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
Clear
it's just
quote, yeah.
everything, just clear communication before you even enter into a project. Otherwise, like they could so come back and be like, well, I didn't know that I was signing up for that, which is like your contract.
Yeah, 100%. It's contract.
Yeah.
And again, contract doesn't have to be complicated. It can just be an email. As long as there's like written proof of
Yeah. You
communication.
send this price
That's
for
fine.
this thing.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I did have another piece of advice, but
Oh, you
I
have so much advice.
lost it. I think I
Oh.
lost it.
I think I've got
Brilliant.
heaps. I just can't think of it right now.
Yeah.
Like there's.
It's just it was all just coming to me when we were talking before, but I've forgotten it.
Mustn't have been important.
Maybe if I just start talking again, it'll come back. But no, what I was going to say is understand your pricing internally.
Yeah.
So, like, if you are going to charge $1,500 a day, understand how much of that is your labor,
Yeah.
how much of that goes to tax, how much of that goes to GST, super, how much of that goes to gear, equipment allowances.
Supplies,
So
travel.
that if someone goes, why am I paying so much money?
Yeah.
Why am
Yeah.
I paying $1,500 for you to come out? You can go, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Here are
And
the
show
line
them,
items.
hey,
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
my gear's worth $20,000.
Yeah.
I'm going to be bringing that all with me.
Yeah.
So $1,500, not that much, really.
Yeah.
Like, think about it.
Yeah. So I think for bigger clients, they'll ask you, for the most part, they want to see line items, breakdowns of where their money's going, what they're getting.
Yeah.
And I think with these bigger clients, you'll also find, don't be scared to, say a bigger number for your budget, because you'll find, and I've done this, I've charged good money for a day rate of editing and then shooting or vice versa. And they're just like, yep. Like they'll pay the invoice within the week.
Yeah.
Clients will do that. Don't fear that just because there's a few people out there that won't or are really sort of tight on their money just because it might be too much for them or they just don't see the value. Other businesses do.
Yeah.
Like it's just the scale of the business and the intent of the
Yeah.
business is what
100%.
is what you're after.
Yeah. I remembered my other piece of advice was that think like the business that's contacting you.
Yeah.
So, like, you may be reaching out to them depending on how you're trying to find work. But if someone contacts you and says, hey, we have this project, think like them. Think on what because you have to lean on a bit of your business knowledge here, is it's all about return on investment for companies. And the return on investment are usually, probably 90% of the work you do is like marketing content eventually. Like it's either an ad for socials or for YouTube or whatever. Their return on investment is people buying that product. So there's two ways of thinking. One, you have to consider their return on investment. So if it is a smaller business or like a solo person, like you can probably price their product and realize, okay, they're probably not going to make a lot of money off this. So if I go hit them with like $10,000 budget, it's probably going to be more than the project's actually worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's a bigger business in the same sense, you should understand that off every time someone sees that thing, maybe 40% of those people buy one of those products, and those products are worth X amount. Like you don't have to go making a spreadsheet about their, year over year
Their finances.
earnings. But like just roughly go, okay, there's actually a pretty big return on investment from this, and then you can charge accordingly based on that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you figure out which of those clients are like bigger budget ones and lower budget ones, and spend the time to like actually think about what they're getting from you. The other thing I did a lot poorly when I was freelancing at the beginning is I was like, I'm just going to make cool stuff. I'm just going to make cool videos and people will like it. And if I had to go back and do it now, I have to realize that there has to be an incentive for the company. Like, yes, the video should be cool, but why does that benefit them? Like, what's the benefit to the company? What's the benefit to the client that you're working with? Because if the benefit is just that the video is cool but doesn't actually convert any sales, it's actually worth nothing to them. Like, it's a waste of money and they won't ever work with you again. Maybe you produce a cool video, but it's like, what was it for?
Yeah.
You kind of have to think, it's not how we like to think as creatives, but you do have to think a bit businessy and go, okay, what is the actual benefit I'm supplying to the client here? And maybe that is a cool video, depending on the brand. Yeah. But maybe it's informative, maybe it's, the correct brief, I think you got to think about what they're actually going to get out of it and how you can provide value to the customer or the client more than just, I made you a cool video piece.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like when you get into agency territory, that's strategy. You know what I mean? That's when you start implementing like social strategy from you get a marketing person in with a marketing degree and you go, how do we create a package where I create content and you give them a strategy on how to implement the content, and then together we're an agency now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I was going to say as well, jump on a call with them. Like
Yeah,
early
100%.
on, if you're emailing initially and they've reached out to you or you've reached out to them, try and organize a call. Jump on the call, like just see if you can get a face-to-face either over Zoom or even go to a coffee, have an interview at their office, like whatever the situation requires. Then you can get a better feel for it. They can get a feel for you.
Yeah.
I think over emails you can do all these things and then right at the last hurdle find out that this person's going to be a bit of a pain.
Yep.
They don't want to pay the invoice or whatever it is because they don't value the work. You probably would have discerned that earlier on with a face-to-face call and determining what they're after early on. I think something I heard recently was, you don't want to jump into this project and then if you haven't asked for the budget and they're showing you all of this, say, reference from the Super Bowl, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's a big budget, but then you find out it's $500.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in that situation because you just didn't have that initial conversation or that face-to-face meet. So,
yeah, a call's easy. A call's really easy. The other thing too is like if you're starting out and you have extra time because you don't have clients yet or whatever, make spec ads. You know what I mean? Like just make
personal
stuff
work
for companies that you like, you'd be interested in working with. Like just make spec ads and send it to them and say, hey, no charge, but I made this. I really like you guys. I like your company. I like your products, blah, blah, blah. I made this for you. If you want to post it and tag me, that's awesome. Yeah. If not, no stress.
Yeah,
That's Michael all the time.
Yeah, and even post it on social. Like you just take the initiative, post it on social, tag them.
Collab with them on Instagram. And if they might accept it, who knows?
Like I tagged
who knows?
I tagged Inku in a recent video. They commented on the video, said thanks for visiting.
Did they?
Yep.
Heck yeah.
But like it's just
Did they actually?
It's just like a little connection.
Are you saying he's a liar?
I'll show you right now.
Can I see?
Yeah.
No, but that's cool. Yeah, take the initiative. Post it yourself.
That's Michael all the time. Every time we go somewhere, he's like, pull up this person's Instagram. I want to see their socials.
Yeah, because actually,
every time.
That's really good thinking because that's the value you add to people is bringing something they don't already have.
Yeah.
You're so welcome. I
Because
helped
if you
write
do
this comment.
and go, well, their stuff's pretty
That's
good, and then do
wild.
something worse, why would they post it?
Yeah. And it's just starting connections. Like if you do, like that's how a lot of brand deals happen. Like if you constantly make content and reference a product or whatnot, that brand's eventually going to see it one way or another. Yeah. And they might reach out to you and be like, here's another product. Do you want to try this as well?
Yeah. Like if we say we love Rode.
We love Rode.
We've
got a Rode mic.
We love Rode.
Like we love
Don't
that
look at
they're
these
an
ones,
Australian
but-
brand. We love the dude that does the tutorial videos.
Yeah. Very cool.
We really love Rode. Like we said that a lot.
I love Rode.
Yeah.
I love all of their little travel mics that I can just plug it in and go.
Ah, you were listening to the podcast previously.
Like
Nice.
the Rode Wireless Go 2
Wireless
and the Rode
Go 2.
Wireless Pro, some of our favorite products from Rode.
You know what I wish? I wish that I could just have one.
Okay, well that's
You can't ask for anything.
and we're not going to give away any sponsorships for free. So, okay, I think to round it out, do you have any stories or advice for how to do proper rest when you're freelancing or
Avoiding burnout.
Yeah, avoiding burnout, avoiding like maybe for a period of time there isn't a way to do that, and you just have to put your head down and work. But
I think it comes down to valuing your no or your yes and your no.
What a big one.
Yes, a lot of people said this to me. It's just don't always say, yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you need to take time to process it, be like, thanks for chatting. Let me get back to you. Like whatever the situation calls. Obviously, it's a face-to-face. You're going to have to work on that. But yeah, you need to know when to say no because you do need to allow yourself time to breathe and rest and sleep, all of those good things. Because if you're not sleeping very well because you're working really late, getting 3 hours sleep every day, you're probably not going to have the best run every week. You're not going to get your peak health, your peak performance.
Yeah, your work will suffer.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
some of the best things you can do in those situations is maybe you just need to work on your productivity and your efficiency throughout the day or on the tasks that you have at hand. So maybe reading some productivity books, and there's plenty out there.
I'll give you one right now.
Yeah, go for it.
One of my favorite books is. Are you laughing at me? Because I like reading books. That's really harsh.
Yeah.
It's actually a really hard read, this book.
Yeah.
But it's a great book. It's called Getting Things Done.
Yeah.
He's David Allen is the author.
Is this your checklist of what you've read?
Yeah.
I want to reiterate.
I haven't read it. I haven't read most of these books. I've only read one of them on the list. But it's called Getting Things Done. It's a really it's quite a hard read. But if you just look up a summary of the book, just read that.
Yeah.
But
The synopsis.
there's like a system. I wonder if I wrote notes.
You can write notes?
I didn't
What
write
is
any
this?
notes. I didn't write any notes. There's a summary. In the summary, it'll tell you. But he has a system of capturing ideas and then getting them into the right process to then. And you might use Notion or Todoist or something to do this process. But capturing your ideas as soon as you have them, and then storing them somewhere where later on you can look at them and consolidate them and whether they're good ideas or bad ideas. And he's famous for saying our brain's designed for having ideas, not holding ideas.
Yeah.
So get them out of your head, and then gives you more room to focus on things.
Yeah, it's great. Another one real quick is Eat the Frog or Eat That Frog.
Oh yeah, Eat the Frog.
I forget.
I thought you were giving advice, and I was like, eat a frog?
No, it's a book essentially. the whole story behind it is who's it by?
Brian Tracy.
There you go. The whole thing around it is if you were to eat a live frog at the start of for breakfast, that's probably the worst thing you're going to do that day. So once you get the biggest task out of the way first,
Do the hardest thing first.
you can then, it's all downhill, cruising through all the smaller tasks. Yeah. That's just one of the many ways of doing work and being productive, and whatnot. Yeah. He's got I think it's 21 ideas
so it is called Eat That Frog.
Eat That Frog.
21 great ways to stop procrastinating and get more done in less time.
There you go.
It's such a crazy concept.
It is, but it's just if you read it, I've actually got it, so if you want to read it.
Yeah, you've been reading it for 20 years.
Yeah, because it's always good to just go back and reference all the different techniques.
Why do you not like
You're not going
books?
to...
I read a book so fast, and Michael's still reading the same one.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Good for you.
It is the way I do it.
Good for you. Okay, well, I think that brings us to the end of the conversation.
Another week done.
Well, thanks for watching, and thanks for being here, Dashi, Michael.
Thank you.
Anytime, guys.
And I know we've been away for a bit.
Yeah,
But-
Padraig and Abby had a baby,
Woo!
so congrats.
That's
Shout
good.
out to Abby.
Yeah, Abby.
I'll be
She
the one
really
to do
did
it.
a lot of the work.
Yeah, 9 months of it.
He's not one. He's 5 weeks or something at the moment. So
Or something.
I don't know. Actually, Timmy's birthday really easy to remember. 7th of the 12th, right?
Yeah.
I've already forgotten this one's birthday.
Padraig.
He's not offended yet. He doesn't know.
That's your second child. This is
September
why they have
somewhere.
problems.
September somewhere.
You told us it was a Friday.
21st?
Maybe.
I'm sending this
I don't
bit
know.
to Abby.
We'll find out if we're wrong later.
I don't know. Anyway, But anyway, I had a baby. But thanks for tuning in to this episode, and hope you like the new format and the new look if you're watching.
A little bit different. Yeah.
And we'll be back in a fortnight with a new topic and a great conversation.
See ya.
Bye.